Picture a once peaceful frontier town where talk of revenge and the unending search for justice can be heard in dusty saloons and dark alleys. In the heart of this turbulent Wild West landscape, a man of great stature and honor is changed by an unimaginable grief. This man is none other than President Andrew Johnson, whose life took a dark and tragic turn after the murder of his beloved wife by a warrior of the Crow tribe. Johnson, whose sadness burned his soul, vowed to get revenge for her death. His heart, once filled with the warmth of love and devotion, was now filled with a single cold determination to punish every member of the Crow tribe he encountered. Following this promise, he set out on a relentless and bloody quest that would earn him a notorious reputation throughout the Wild West. When you think of the Wild West, you probably picture rough scenery, gunfights, and towns with no rules. However, the story of Johnson's revenge adds a dark touch to this familiar scene. As Johnson started on his mission, he became increasingly brutal, driven by a rage that knew no limits. His horrible actions, especially the rumored habit of eating the livers of his dead enemies, earned him the fearsome name Liver Eater. People who heard it were scared, and it made Johnson a figure of terror and retribution. But what about the man behind the nickname? On his quest for revenge, Johnson got into countless fights, and each one was scarier than the last. His path was full of blood and pain, a reminder of how personal grudges often caused fights in the Wild West. These grudges, born out of deep personal losses, kept up a loop of violence and retribution that never seemed to end. Johnson's story, while extreme, wasn't the only one. It showed the strong feelings and harsh realities of life on the frontier, where those who had been through the most often did the right thing. Overall, Johnson's story is a sad example of frontier justice in history. It shows how the lack of rules at the time let these kinds of personal quests happen without being stopped. The vast, wild landscapes of the Wild West made it a great place to set stories of revenge and retribution. Johnson changed from a peaceful, respected president to a feared and brutal person, showing how personal loss could deeply affect someone in this harsh environment. But if you thought Johnson's grim tale was the only shocking story from the Wild West, you're wrong. Subscribe to the channel because we have way more disturbing images in our camera roll. In 1907, in a faraway part of the American Wild West, a unique and endearing sight unfolds each morning. A sturdy cow walks on grass along dusty trails carrying 7 children to their school. This cute and odd way to get around shows how resourceful and creative the frontier families were. In a time and place where developed infrastructure was still a dream, the cow became more than just a family pet. A big part of daily life, she embodied the close bond between people and animals that was so important to life on the frontier. Picture 7 kids, perhaps holding their books and lunch bags, sitting on top of the gentle animal as she went about her daily journey. This practice, born out of necessity, highlights the inventive spirit that defined the settlers of the Wild West. But what about the practical side of such a journey? The lack of roads and the long distances between homes and schools meant that traditional forms of transportation were often impractical or unavailable. In this situation, the cow's daily walk was not only useful, but it was also fun and brought people together. People living on the frontier who were spread out were happy to see it and felt like they belonged to a community. After all these years, the story of a cow taking kids to school every day has become a cute piece of American pioneer history. But if you thought this was inspiring, let's take a look at the following story. Imagine the majestic silhouette of four peaks standing high against the Arizona skyline. It is a reminder of the raw beauty and difficulty of nature. Many frontiersmen put their skills to the test in this rough land, which was known for its wide range of animals. Hunters, driven by necessity and tradition, went into these wild areas to find deer, rabbits, bears, and even the difficult-to-catch cougars. Think of hunters in worn-out leather and tough boots, their eyes scanning the horizon, each step careful as they moved into unknown territory. The landscape wasn't for the weak. It demanded exceptional skill and unwavering bravery. The land itself seemed alive with its thorny brush, steep cliffs, and hidden ravines. Each element seemed to be working together to test the bravery of those who were brave enough to walk through it. There was much different wildlife in this huge area. The Four Peaks area was very popular with travelers and frontiersmen because it had so many animals. However, it wasn't just the hunt that drew them in, it was also the promise of food and the chance to take care of their families. A successful hunt meant more than a mere trophy. It was the difference between survival or having a hard time. The meat fed families, the hides provided warmth, and the bones were fashioned into tools and weapons. However, hunting in Four Peaks was not an easy task. The hunters had to deal with plenty of problems, from unpredictable weather to potential encounters with predators. Imagine the cold of a sudden mountain storm, or the silence of a forest where a cougar might be hiding. Each hunt was a mix of planning, patience, and sheer determination. The stories of these adventures, passed down through generations, became legends that captured the imagination and heart of the Wild West. But the stories of those tough hunters are nothing compared to this next incredible story. You probably heard of the infamous Hatfield-McCoy feud, a fight that has become part of American tradition. Behind the stories of rivalry, there's a touching image of family unity and strength. The Hatfield family photo from 1888. This famous picture is more than just a photo. It captures the spirit of a frontier family and the essence of the American Wild West. Just look at the Hatfield family standing together. Their expressions show a mix of firm determination and family pride. The photograph, which is a rare look into the past, shows how people lived and behaved in a time when grit and unity were needed to survive. Each member of the family, dressed in traditional frontier clothes, gives off a strong sense of purpose, which shows how loyal they are and how strong their bonds were. The Hatfields were more than just a family. They represented the tough independence of the time. People knew them for having strong family bonds, and they faced the dangers of life on the frontier with a determination that has become legendary. Their fame, which was helped by their fight with the McCoys, makes their history more complicated by weaving their personal story into the bigger story of justice and loyalty on the frontier. In the late 1800s, the American West was a place of huge, untamed wilderness where families like the Hatfields made a living. This picture is more than just a bunch of faces. It tells a story of how people survived and succeeded in hard times. For the Hatfields, life was hard in the same ways it was for many pioneer families. The land was harsh, resources were limited, and there was always the chance of fighting with nature or other newcomers. The Hatfield family's image, despite these problems, shows that they are strong. Their story, which is often made more romantic in American folklore, shows how the West was changed by tough, determined people. The picture is more than just an old artifact. It's a strong representation of the wild way of life, showing the bravery and determination that made pioneer life what it was. If you enjoyed learning about the fascinating Hatfield family and their indomitable spirit in the Wild West, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories from American history. See you in the next one.